I will hurt you. If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just fucking bothering you, he's going to look over and go, oh my God, that's really Mike Tyson. That guy can still fuck you up.
He don't want to fight Mike.
I don't give a fuck if you think he's 55.
Hi, Jake Paul. Do you really think that you're going to beat Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
There's not a fucking chance in hell that Jake Paul would survive against the Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier. Tyson in his prime, where he was fucking terrifying. He was so fast.
Yo, you guys might actually want to pull your seats out for this, as Joe Rogan has just gotten much more involved in the entire drama. Joe Rogan just threw a ferocious blow at Jake Paul right after he dropped the news that he was bailing on the fight with Mike Tyson. Honestly, it looks like there was something in the air that sent bad luck all over the place, or Jake had really planned this all along. While we're all here in great shock, it seems Joe smelled this coming. He's been shouting at the top of his voice, hammering on ears that chose to listen, that the fight wasn't worth it. He gave Jake Paul a stern warning that Tyson wasn't one to be messed with. However, the problem child didn't care about any of that and has been too soaked in his social media gimmicks to give a hoot. And now that Jake has officially backed out, Joe has sworn to unleash the most intense verbal takedown in him.
These people that think that he don't stand a chance against Jake Paul, they're like, this shouldn't even, like, because he's too old. It's like, I think you're crazy.
Well, they're definitely uninformed.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, he is 57 years old.
A good number of you probably started hating Jake Paul the time he challenged Mike to a fight, and some other of you started hating him when he spilled trash about Mike and his family. But no, we can't say the same for Joe Rogan. It may be safe to say he started the hate campaign on Paul. The moment Jake Paul and his brother Logan hit the scene at first, Joe never held back on expressing how he really feels about the two brothers. You can always sense the disdain whenever he was referring to either of them. As we all know, Joe is that one person we can characterize as brutally blunt in the boxing community. All his criticisms are always legendary and straight to the point. He hasn't held back on calling out their behavior, doubting if they have a place in the boxing world. He branded them as opportunists, stating that they were only driven by fame and the financial gain, because they clearly lack genuine passion or skill for combat sports.
Bro, he's in savage mode right now. He's in savage mode. If I was Jake Paul right now, I would be shitting my pants.
Oh, bro.
One of the highlights of this drama was when Joe Rogan referred to Jake Paul as the biggest manipulator of all time in the boxing community. And if you take a close look at it, he's quite right. Jake's rapid rise in the industry has been highly remarkable. However, some people, including Joe himself, think it's a well-executed facade. It always seems like Jake's opponents have been carefully chosen to guarantee his victory. It looks as if he's rigging the game, and Joe doesn't find it appealing in any way, hence his subtle attacks. He believes Jake is undermining the ethics of the sport by selecting fights with non-boxers or those far past their prime. Jake's maintaining an unblemished win record. Joe argues this strategy misleads fans about Jake's real strength and abilities, and in turn, it's bringing disrespect to the sport. As Floyd also said, as long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's going to continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not going to be that good. Joe has been constantly calling out Jake for following these tactics, taking on ex-MMA fighters, retired athletes, or YouTubers instead of actual current boxers. It's like constructing a palace on sand dunes, and Joe doesn't want any part of it. Using his podcast, Joe has been dissecting Jake's fighting background, pointing out the inconsistencies and casting aspersions on legitimacy of his victories. You would think Joe was boxing integrity's watchdog for a moment there. Critics like Joe Rogan are not buying into Jake's claims about an outstanding win record. The most outstanding case is the fight of April 17, 2021, when Ben Askren, the MMA wrestler, was defeated in the first round in a knockout blow by Jake. This made many people think that he had been purposely defeated, including Joe himself. The same thing was said during his match with Tyron Woodley on August 29th and December 18th of 2021, when a fight against him was described. Critics were quick to point out that these fighters were picked for their big names, not their boxing skills. Joe Rogan brought this to notice in his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. and also in other media appearances. On October 23, 2021, Joe Rogan broke down Jake's fight history, calling him out for fighting people who are not pro boxers simply because doing so helps him boost his stats in the game. Joe thinks that Jake is doing all these for the money and fame, working around the rules, hence making boxing an activity rather than a contest. On March 10, 2024, we heard that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson were going to fight, and the reaction was mixed. Joe was among those who termed it out as a farce, saying it was nothing short of a media circus. In an interview on March 12th via ESPN, Joe described Jake as someone who excels in marketing himself not as a pugilist. On many media appearances, he upheld doubt, asking how conceivable it was for a young boxer like Jake to face a boxing icon like Tyson based on his shallow record.
After you're winning these fights and taking everybody down, at some point you're like, I'm unstoppable, I'm invincible.
Joe even reached out to Jake privately, warning him about the dangers of fighting Tyson. But Jake, as his usual self, dismissed his concerns publicly. This pissed Joe so much, and it was evident on his podcast. Joe Rogan voiced serious concerns concerning Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson, citing Tyson's dangerous skill despite his age. His warning came from deep experience. However, Jake ignored him, flaunting his confidence in a YouTube video. Rogan was exasperated, calling Jake out on his podcast and stressing that Jake was more interested in fame than the sport's integrity.
You get challenged by someone who's a guy like a Jake Paul. Does that piss you off? Was
Not
it
at
part
all.
of it that's just like,
No, it doesn't. I don't
No?
think. I think it's awesome.
You think it's awesome?
Yeah, I think it'll piss me off. I think it's cool.
you think it's cool?
Mike Tyson, on the other hand, was dealing with health issues like back problems and joint pain, and it was beginning to affect his training. Rogan expressed genuine concern for Tyson's well-being and even visited him in Las Vegas to offer support.
Mike Tyson's name trending on your timeline right now. According to a report by In Touch Weekly, the boxer suffered from a medical emergency during an American Airlines flight Sunday.
When Jake Paul eventually bailed on the fight, the news caused an uproar. Rogan reacted angrily, calling Jake a coward and fraud for undermining the boxing community and its ethics. He argued that Jake's actions showed he was only in it for clout and financial gain, not for the sport itself. Rogan's harsh critique aimed to reveal Jake's lack of respect and genuine skill in boxing, contrasting sharply with his admiration and concern for Tyson. Jake's overconfidence and dismissal of Rogan's warnings highlighted his focus on fame and fortune rather than genuine respect for boxing. Rogan's attempts to protect the sport's integrity and his genuine concern for Tyson's health stood in stark contrast to Jake's actions, intensifying the criticism against Jake in the boxing community. What do you guys think about Joe's react? Do you think he went too extreme or he hit the hammer on the head? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and also give us a thumb up. See you in the next video.